We all know how weird politicians and rich people are, right? Well, did you know there's actually a society, or a club if you will, filled with some of the world's most powerful elites that gather yearly at a campground an hour and a half from San Francisco, where they may be taking part in child sacrifice?
If any of you are into boxing, you may have heard of Ryan Garcia, 27-year-old professional boxer from Victorville, California, who just last year was in a fight with Gervonta Tank Davis, who was undefeated with 28 knockouts and 30 fights, Ryan being one of them. Well, early last year, Garcia made some very interesting tweets about Bohemian Grove that caught a lot of media attention, specifically in an X talking space where he claimed elites at Bohemian Grove held him down and watched little kids get.
Bro, they held me down and they made me watch little kids get. I don't give a fuck anymore. Where? Bro, they fucking took me to the fucking woods, bro, and they fucking tied. I'm not fucking joking, bro. I have fucking proof, bro. I don't give a fuck. Bro, I fucking will show you every fucking video you could ever fucking believe. Bohemian Grove is real. They fucking tied me down and they made me fucking watch, dog. I absolutely don't give a fuck anymore.
In the days that followed, Ryan made some concerning tweets saying that he was scared for his life and that if he was killed, it wasn't by his own doing. Ryan Garcia, while a talented fighter, has been known to have some erratic behavior. Some speculate this could be the result of CTE due to how many fights he has had at such a young age. However, Ryan Garcia is not the only polarizing figure who has tried to shed light on the strange mystery that is Bohemian Grove. Alex Jones is a controversial media personality that has been referred to by many as a conspiracy theorist due to his stances on a variety of topics.
Quite frankly, I mean, give me a break. You think I am like, oh, shocked by it, so I'm up here bashing it because I don't like gay people? I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that?
Jones was not considered a respected journalist by mainstream publications in the early 2000s, but in alternative media he was highly regarded as a truth seeker and someone who would do whatever it takes to get his story. One such case being Jones's 2000 documentary, Dark Secret Behind Bohemian Grove. Jones talked about giant owl statues that members would worship, as well as repeated mention of praising or devotion to Moloch, a deity in the Hebrew Bible associated with child sacrifice. One thing Jones especially harps on is the cremation of care, a ceremony which essentially is a mock sacrifice where a wooden dummy or some kind shaped as a young child is burned underneath a large owl statue while members are dressed in cloaks. In his documentary, he interviewed locals who knew of Bohemian Grove and the yearly gathering of politicians and world leaders, but were very skeptical about any cult-like sacrifices or worship that were being performed. Alex Jones and his assistant were able to infiltrate the compound and secretly record footage from a video camera that was hidden inside of his bag.
Hail Fellowship's eternal flame. Once again, midsummer sets us free.
Okay, now I'm gonna show you guys some stills from the enhanced video footage. So this first still, you can see a man dressed in white with very lavish looking robes, almost like a pope or something, with a bunch of other men lined around him with torches. This still isn't as good, but you can see the moment all the participants are setting something on fire. The footage doesn't clearly show it because of how far away Jones is. Now, maybe the most eye-catching thing of all is the Disneyland parade-esque fireworks show that goes off in the middle of the ceremony with a very large wooden statue in the background. Now, I don't know if that's an owl. I mean, I could kinda see it, but throughout the ceremony they reference a Owl of Bohemia numerous times, asking for favors and counsel and all sorts of things. And judging based on the size of it compared to the people, this bad boy looks to be around 40 feet tall at least. If this interests you at all, I'd say go watch the full documentary on YouTube, though I'd recommend watching at maybe 1.5 times speed, because there's definitely a lot of footage that could have been cut out or trimmed down at least. But all in all, like, this is crazy, right? Like, what was the response to this? Well, to be honest, there really wasn't much of a response. Journalist John Ronson, that's an insane name, came out and said while the ceremony is odd, Jones was widely exaggerating and misinterpreting the event. Ronson even pushed the Bohemian Club themselves, and they responded saying, "The Cremation of Care is a musical and verse pageant intended to let members symbolically cast off their business cares as part of a midsummer retreat, an escape, if you will." They acknowledged it's theatrically dramatic, maybe a bit overdrawn, but insisted it was about as innocent as anything could be. But outside of that, not much acknowledgement at all from members or anyone else for that matter. But there is something that's bothering me here. Why did the Grove feel the need to say this play was absolutely innocent? I mean, regardless of Jones embellishing certain aspects or unfounded references to ancient societies, at the end of the day, the ceremony was still a bunch of the world's most influential men taking part in a play depicting events symbolic to performing a sacrifice to appease some sort of deity. I mean, does this on the surface not sound like pagan practices depicted in films? I mean, have you heard of Wicker Man, Midsummer? The list goes on, but let's talk a little about the history of the Bohemian Club. The Bohemian Club was founded in 1872 by a group of journalists, artists, and musicians, with the first gathering taking place in 1878. The club is very exclusive and contains some very notable members, such as former presidents Howard Taft, Herbert Hoover, Dwight D. Eisenhower, Reagan, Whittier College alumni Nixon, George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, and George W. Bush. Other members include high-ranking political party members, military defense contractors, and financial advisors, just to name a few. It is reported that members have to pay up to $25,000 just to join a waitlist for consideration, and that's in addition to being suggested by two current members of the club. Bit of a side note here, but Nixon has said some pretty interesting stuff about the Grove. If you search tape recorder Nixon Bohemian Grove, you'll see what I mean. Many important political and business decisions have been discussed at the Grove, one in particular being the creation of the Manhattan Project. Yes, you may have not seen this in Oppenheimer, but in 1942, J. Robert Oppenheimer attended the Bohemian Grove to discuss plans about the Manhattan Project. While it's disappointing he didn't include it in the movie, it's probably a good idea Christopher Nolan left that scene out, given the people who attend these events. Now, you may be asking yourself in this point of the video, why didn't you go to the campground? This would be great for an investigation video. And while I agree with you, there's one simple reason. Since Alex Jones' infamous infiltration of the already pretty tight security back in 2000, they have stepped it up a notch. I'm talking 24-hour security cameras, thermal night vision cameras, motion detectors, vibration-sensitive alarm systems, and on top of that all, year-round ex-military who are hired to work as security at the Grove. Now, aside from the strange ritualistic performances and supposed occult practices, the Bohemian Grove has had a fair number of additional controversies. In 1978, the Bohemian Grove was charged with discrimination over their refusal to hire female employees. This relates back to the club being male only and their steadfast practices. Eventually, the issue reached the California Superior Court, ruling in favor of the club as being a male was an appropriate occupational requirement. However, it was discovered that the judge had previously attended the Grove's yearly festivities numerous times. Eventually, the club was forced to staff female employees, but to this day, they're not allowed to pass the Grove's parking lot. Logging has been another problem with the Bohemian Society, as on numerous occasions they've tried to obtain logging permits that would double the area of trees they're allowed to log. Thankfully, these efforts have been largely unsuccessful. Recently, former employees have filed lawsuits against Bohemian Grove for wage theft, but it was deemed that they didn't fit the legal definition of an employer and were ultimately dismissed from the lawsuit. However, I think there actually is some new light on this. There might actually have been a settlement that was reached between the employees and Bohemian Grove. Now, one thing I'm stuck on is why the owl? In everything I've seen, Moloch is a cow-headed god with zero correlation to owls. Alex Jones even stated multiple times in his documentary that thousands of years ago there were societies that sacrificed children to owl statues, but I haven't found any records or evidence to support this claim at all. But where have I seen owls used in a similar fashion before? Any Batman heads out there have probably heard of the Court of Owls. If not, it's a secret society of Gotham's richest and oldest families that control every aspect of society. They wear owl masks and have lavish owl statues decorated all throughout their meeting spaces where they hold odd ritualistic gatherings. I mean, could you get any closer thematically? Then, as I was doing research for this video, I remembered a movie that came out not too long ago that was strikingly familiar to the events being described. Late Night with the Devil, starring David Dashmalkian, is about a famous talk show host who is confronted by his occult practices at a Northern California elitist retreat called The Grove. It is implied that the main character, Jack Delroy, has accumulated success due to his membership within the secret society, which uses imagery such as owl masks and statues. I bring up these references in popular media to say that people are aware of how weird and possibly nefarious this gathering really is. While some of the people directly speaking out about the society may be considered a little off, there are plenty of people who are suspicious of the Bohemian Club and what may really be going on inside Bohemian Grove. So, if you're telling yourself this is all nonsense or completely unbelievable, I'd have you ask yourself, do you really trust the wealthiest, most influential people in the world, and do they really seem like they'd be above things like this? But guys, at the end of the day, stay safe and stay curious. And remember, they are with us.